Okay. He definitely said, "This is what you put me through."
This is what you put me through. This is what you do to me.
And he just started smashing the
wailing
Xbox.
on your Xbox.
Yeah, smashed it. Looked at me with like a face of regret.
What have I done?
You know, after that, he apologized, bought me a new Xbox.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
You have some criminal charges with you, bro. Guess I'm where avoiding the shark.
Yo, great turbo neck guy.
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast, where we collect experiences as badges, memories as treasures, and stories as wealth. In this episode, my buddies Ryan and Sean tell funny stories of the Xbox hammer, excrement eyeball, high-pitched frequencies, and strange characters we've encountered. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R. Okay, so I'm going to start off with how Ryan and I met. Okay, so it all started with a Reddit post, and I went back and looked. I made this post on October 2nd, 2019. And so back then I was thinking about starting a clothing line, so I posted in the streetwear startup subreddit, seeking business partner for metalcore/deathcore inspired clothing line located in LA. And then Ryan responded, dude. Do you remember this?
I don't remember the business partner part.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that deep.
And we added each other on Instagram after that.
Yeah.
And then I think I just started seeing what you were doing with Lore at the time, because that's the project that you were doing.
At the time, yeah.
And talk a little bit about that.
Oh, man. So when I first moved out here, I was working on my own clothing brand. Mm-hmm. And Reddit was kind of like that outlet for me to just post about it without putting money into marketing and all that. And one day I was posting my stuff, and then I see this thing like, hey, I need help in LA. And I was like, let me see what this is about.
You're like, I like metalcore. I like deathcore.
Yeah. I was like, maybe this will be a cool project to help someone on. And,
it never went anywhere, but
but a friendship did.
But
and that's all that
exactly.
mattered,
And
bro.
now we're here. So our first meeting was at In-N-Out.
Was
that
at
was our
In-N-Out.
first date, right?
The first date.
And I was wearing that sworn in beanie, and you were like, "That's what's up." Or did you secretly hate it? I don't know.
No.
And then you were able to be in Space Waves, involved in a small way, which was really cool.
Yeah.
In Space Waves, it's a montage of people listening to the podcast, right? And so you were one of the people tuning in, listening.
Switched up my whole room.
Yeah.
For this scene. Yeah, I had like this little jellyfish tank with fake jellyfish that
And
would
you're like
float around.
you're
from
like
these
trying to put
bubbles.
the headphones onto the jellyfish tank to let jellyfish
Just like some
tune
stu-
into
some
the Space
stoner
Waves
move.
episode.
Well,
yeah.
you had fake jellies.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you can own moon jellies in California. That's that
now I
completely
know
legal.
that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
One of my friends works for like an aquarium. She's like, yeah, if you ever want to own jellyfish, moon jellies are legal. I'm like, seriously? She's like, yeah, you can just own 1 billion of them
Wow.
because they
pretty
don't sting. So anyway.
But I think just over the years, it's been good getting to know you, Ryan, and we've just encouraged each other in our artistic ventures. So it's been really good, man.
It has, yeah.
And then Sean Bremner.
What up?
Sean, you know how we met, dude? It was that Chain Reaction, and I saw his Humanity's Last Breath shirt.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, dude, it's so good. And we ended up talking, and it was just pretty organic because we ended up seeing each other at like a bunch of different shows over the years, and then started going to shows together and swapping music recommendations. And dude, Sean is one of the only people who's able to actually recommend me bands that I genuinely like that I've never heard of before. You know?
Dude, I'm deep in this shit, man. I live and breathe it, man.
Yeah. I'm sure it's the same for you, though. I've sent you quite a few good tunes as
No,
well.
you definitely have. There was that one band that you sent me, Dark Matter, I think. I was
Yeah,
like,
dude. Shout out Dark
dude,
Matter.
Yeah, those guys are sick.
Yeah, so good. Oh, yeah, and then another fun memory from the Parkway Drive Amity Affliction Northland show. Josh from Northland crowd surfed. That was pretty sick.
That's right. And you held them up, right?
Yeah. And I'm like,
So-
I'm in the photo as well on their Instagram, which is cool. But at one point, dude, during the show, I was like, Sean, It's like, look over at that high guy over there. And we're like, what? And we both look. And right as we look, this guy is like this. And he looks over at us. And he goes, and he looks at us right as we're talking about it. And we're like, oh. And then we just like turn quickly, try to dodge it. You know?
Yeah, like, no, we were looking at you, bro.
And then, dude, there was also this loser on the way to the bathroom. Remember how the bathrooms at that venue were so far away? And this loser was like,
It's so far. And he was like, I'll never find my buddies again.
that's what he said. And he was like this 50-year-old man, and he was just whining to me. And I'm like,
that's even funnier.
Yeah.
I'll never find my buddies again.
Sad.
But Sean, when I called you to brainstorm ideas for this podcast, you were fast asleep because you're kind of on like a nocturnal schedule, right?
Yeah, my schedule's kind of
And when I called you, you were mid tornado chamber dream.
So there was this crazy dream, and like right before he called, it was like the government was like trying to like essentially create tornadoes, and the way, yeah, dude, it was wild, yeah, and like the way that they would do this is that they constructed this giant cylinder of like Apache helicopters, and they used the rotation of the blades to essentially create the tornado. Sci-fi
cylinder.
Yeah, so something like that. But it was just like this just cylinder of Apache helicopters, and they were all just rotating, and it was just creating this giant tornado. And I felt like I was going to get sucked into it. I mean, it was just the most ridiculous thing that
And
I've
at
ever...
one point, you were criticizing the government, and they didn't like that.
Yeah, I was criticizing. I was like, because like my engineering brain, I'm like, that doesn't really work. Like if you did it this way, it would make more sense. Or like, nah, that's not how it goes. I'm like, all right, just watched him do it. Dreams are one of those things where it's like you remember it, but then as soon as you forget, it's
gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's
so
just,
I'm
it's
so
in
glad
the
I was
ether.
there at the exact moment to write it down, because I was calling him. I'm like, hey, let's brainstorm for the podcast.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I just had this crazy dream. And he starts telling me the whole thing. And I was like, okay, that's going in. I'm
Like honestly,
all typing notes.
you probably actually remember more of it than I do, because
Yeah.
to me, it's just barely a memory.
It's just all a blur.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some stories. So starting with elementary school, we got a few highlights and a few lowlights, all right? Sean has got the first story. This one's called Excrement Eyeball.
Okay, yeah. So I think it was like...
Ryan? These grouping of words?
Yeah, it was wild. Because like
wild.
Spencer's always the one who's going to come up with it. So I was like hanging out with like a group of my friends, and so I happened to be a little bit underneath this giant tree that happened to be, in the schoolyard, and all of a sudden I just had this thing like drop onto my head, and then as it's dropping onto my head, it completely just covers my right eyeball, and I can't see anything out of that eye. And everyone's like, "Oh, dude, yeah!" Like, and I realized that all these birds that were making nests above my head just decided to take a fat old shit onto my face, and it just completely blocked my eyeball. And I couldn't see anything. And then, of course, I'm trying to like run after people and like wipe the shit eyeball onto people's like sweaters and stuff. But yeah, it was super embarrassing, and people still kind of remind me of it once in a while.
Yep, and now it's out there for the world to remind you.
Now everyone knows.
Ryan's got the next story here, dude. This one's called Full Page.
When it comes to embarrassing stories, this one, like, I don't know why it comes to mind. I think it was just because I was so young and I was like, didn't know how to talk to girls at the time. So this was like 5th grade, and I had this crush on this girl. And for some reason, I thought the best thing to do would just be to write down every question that I would ask her, as if I would write it down and then bring my notepad
to
in
the
front
day,
of her and be
yeah.
like, hey, listen, I actually, came prepared.
Yeah.
A
Here's
list
your
of everything.
interview.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I remember writing everything down, looking at it like, what the heck did I just write down? Tore the page, threw it away, and never talked to her again. never even talked to her. And so that was the first time I ever thought about talking to a girl.
In a romantic sense. Okay, but dude, this one is called the Xbox Hammer. This one's a little bit of a childhood trauma, but I love this one.
So I was doing a bunch of drugs, and
What a segue. Yeah.
doing a bunch of drugs.
School, just drugs.
Just to give you a little preface on why classy Xbox. Doing a lot of drugs in my dad's house.
Yeah.
So just disrespectful all around. And it got to the point where it got a little bit out of control, and he found a massive mason jar full of weed.
And this is back in the day, so it wasn't legal back then either.
Not in Michigan, no. My dad, I think, didn't know how to react. So there's two parts to the story. Found this jar, sets on the table. He's, very, very angry and asking me why do I have this? Blah, blah, blah. We get in an argument. And I think it was at the point where he kind of was fed up with the shit I was doing, which is completely understandable.
Understandable. Yeah.
And he didn't know how to discipline me. So he was he grabbed a hammer, and he didn't initially go and just smash the Xbox. He held it over the hammer as yo, listen, this is about to happen.
No, he held the hammer over the Xbox.
Right. He held the hammer over the Xbox and was like, listen, this is about to happen. I'm sick of this. He definitely said, this is what you put me through, in a way where it was like, over the edge. Like, this is one too many times.
And did he say, you're going to make me do this? This is what you put me through? This is what you put me through? This is what you do to me?
And I guess I probably said something dumb after, and he just started smashing the
Wailing
Xbox.
on your Xbox.
Yeah. Smashed it. Looked at me with like a face of regret.
What have I done?
I'm really
Face of
sorry.
regret.
Like, what have I done?
I just
What
showed
have I
too
done?
much anger to my son.
Yeah.
And you know, after that, he apologized, bought me a new Xbox, and everything. But
Demonstration of strength is what it was.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
that gave me an
He just had
understanding
to show
of
that he could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gave me an understanding of just how like soft my dad is, and like I kind of like stopped doing what I was doing after that because I was like, I'm putting my dad through too much. But the best part of that story is the mason jar that he just put on the table, right? So he took it because he didn't know what to do with it. He didn't flush it down the toilet, didn't do anything like that, right? He didn't get rid of it. He put it in his car and then go to the police station and hand it in to the police.
He turns it over to the authorities.
He's like, I don't know what to do with this. This is my son's, not mine. Can you take it from me? Obviously, he didn't get arrested or anything like that, but yeah, just gave a half pound to the cops, just like that.
All right, so we got to rewind to the first time you bought weed, Ryan.
What have I told you?
Dude,
So me and my buddies would buy like pounds at a time from this guy, and it was our friend's brother. At the time, we were 21 and he was 34. So obviously, someone who's 34 to us at the time is like, they are old, dude.
Yeah,
Like, what is going on? We shouldn't be here. And he usually would put it in a bag, meet us at the car, get in the car, and give it to us. Not this time, because he was in a raid in World of Warcraft. Okay, doesn't really say to us, hey, like, give me a second. He just goes to his computer and starts playing the game, and we're just looking around like what the heck is going on, dude? Like, let's just get the weed and get out of here. 20 minutes later, he was into
gnarly,
it.
yeah.
He was so into it. I think he forgot that we were there.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, so after he was done screaming at his computer, he gave us the weed and we left.
Like, did you get any good loot?
That reminds me of a story because one time in elementary school, went over to my buddy's place and he was playing World of Warcraft, right? And at this point, you know, you had to like pay for like a subscription to World of Warcraft and everything, you know?
Sure.
And so at this point, he was all playing and we're like, oh, like, can we play? Can we play? And he like gets all serious and he's like, guys, I got to tell you something. He's like, I have an addiction to this game.
Yeah.
And he's like, addictions are serious. He's like, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemies.
like, he knows he's just deep in.
Yeah. So
yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, so you're going to watch and I'm going to play. Because
Oh,
I
wow.
care about you too much.
Yeah.
You're not going to get an addiction to this like I have.
Yeah.
So he just played and we didn't get to play at all. All right, so now we're going to get into the strange characters section. Sean's got a story about the weird ice cream man.
There was an ice cream man that used to come around the neighborhood. He had most of his fingers. Most.
Yeah,
Most of his,
one.
no, he had most of his fingers, right? And like distinguishable characteristic about this guy is that he had one hand that was missing top half of his ring finger. So he just had like permanent shocker permanent shocker on all the time. And he was just like a strange guy. But for whatever reason, he would sell us like video games. So it wasn't just ice cream he would sell or like the fart bombs and stuff like that. Like he had an extra collection of wares, you know? And so he had like Pokemon and GoldenEye and he had like all the good stuff. So yeah, so he would like sell, he's like,
You want to buy these games? I'm like,
I want to buy these games. Hold on, let me ask my mom for $50 so I can buy it from some shady ice cream man that would like roll around in my neighborhood. And one of my friend's sister, I think, bought some sort of a game, and she's like,
I'll pay you back. My mom's good for it. She'll give you the money.
and he's like,
all right.
you know. So she got the game and then just disappeared on him.
Betrayal.
And so he would roll around and be like, hey, so
Am I going to get my money?
and we're like, we don't know. We don't have money.
that's
Dude,
not-
we
that's
have
not
jobs.
us. Yeah.
We're 10. We don't have jobs. We don't have jobs. Yeah, we don't have jobs. And so, yeah.
It's
so
like, you
he-
should get a job.
Yeah, but it got to the point where like he just stopped selling us ice cream. He's like, I don't want to sell you anything until I get my money. And it just became this kind of like weird thing where like we'd see him come around and then we'd just start avoiding him. You know, because it's like that was our fix. That was our ice cream fix because it's like, you know, everybody had like $1 or $2.
Right.
And eventually he would start coming around and we'd hear, you know, the ice cream song and we're like, oh,
Instead of running outside, you're running inside.
yeah, dude. Yeah, we're like, dude, yeah, because there was only one ice cream guy. There was only one ice cream guy ever. We heard the ice cream man and we would just bail. Yeah, we were just like, we're out of here, dude. So that was that. But apparently, yeah, my friend's sister still owes the guy like $50.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, weird teachers. Miss Shrader.
Miss Shrader was like this really tall, scary looking lady with like the most Karen haircut ever. And I think she was the math teacher. Nobody liked her because she was just the worst. But she used to carry like a giant bag of like gummy bears. If you were a star student or you did something well or you answered the right question,
throw one at you and you go like that.
She's like, here you go. Yeah. No, but she was like,
I guess you deserve it.
yeah, here you go.
Like throwing gummy bears to people in class.
So there was this kid that we knew named Mark Roof, and like I'm actually like still friends with this guy to this day, but like he was kind of the new kid at the school, and when she was gone, we just stole like all of her gummy bears. Stole all of them. Like she had like a full bag, and it was like a 5-pound bag. And she was only gone for like a week, and then she ended up coming back, and then like half of it was gone. And she's like, so who did this, right?
How dare you?
And of course, it's like, you know, we're like, none of us are gonna like rat out the OGs, right? We're like, well, Mark did it.
Do you blame somebody else?
Dude, we totally blamed that guy, and then he got fucking expelled.
For stealing gummy bears.
Yeah, for stealing gummy. He got expelled for stealing gummy bears from his teacher, and we just like all kept it a secret.
Would you have done it if you knew he was going to get expelled? That's pretty gnarly.
I mean, okay, look, there's a level of loyalty that I had to people that I've known since I'm 5 years old. Like my diehard homies, like friends that I've been for like forever with. And it's like, he was a sacrificial lamb. He really was. Like, dude, I'm really sorry. Like, hey, you're a cool dude and everything, but I'm not going to like jeopardize the friendship with friends that I've known since like basically birth for you. You know,
right.
To be fair, like he did steal some, but it was mostly us. But we're like, but we just
Okay,
like,
so he wasn't innocent. His hands were dirty.
I mean, to some degree, yeah. But we were also like, dude, you should take some. He's like, all right, I'll take some. So we were like,
So you just like set him up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unknowingly set him up.
Yeah, because if it came back to us and it was just like someone's gonna get blamed, it's like we could be like, well, you also did steal, and then everybody collectively was like, yo, it's Mark. And then he got expelled, and then we just didn't see him again until high school. And he's like, hey, assholes, remember when you got me kicked out of school because you said I was stealing gummy bears? I'm like, no. Yeah. No, not at all. What are you talking about? Yeah.
What about Mr. Teague?
Ooh, Mr. Teague. Yeah, Mr. Teague was weird. He was a big dude, and he was always kind of sketch. Like,
He'd always speak like this, bloat.
he would say bloats all the time.
Yeah, bloats,
You know, like that's how he would speak. He was a strange dude. He was a really, really strange guy. Everybody didn't like this dude. We're pretty sure he was a pedophile. We're almost certain that he was, because like there was this one girl who was like at the time pretty developed for her age, right? This is like probably 8th grade. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, she was like,
It's just the truth. It's the truth.
Dude, she was developed, man. She was developed, but and she was attractive, and like ended up becoming a prostitute later on. So like that's kind of what happens. But yeah, so he would have us do these like after school assignments, and I remember that she didn't want to do any of it. So she started like, she's like, I'm just going to pick up trash from the floor and just like get in good with him. Like, look, see, I'm cleaning up the room. But what she would do, though, is that she would get like on all fours, and that she would get on all fours and she would crawl around the classroom just picking up trash. And he would just like let her do it. He's like, that's fine. Go ahead and do it.
That's suspect.
Go ahead and do it, right? So again, weird dude. And so my buddy Rob,
Redhead Rob.
Yes, Redhead Rob. Yeah. So he brought over laxatives that his grandparents had that were like just old, like probably just
Expired laxative.
super expired. Yeah, they were
laxative
just.
is bad enough. Expired laxative.
Who
That's
knows
even
what
worse.
that's actually doing to your stomach?
Right.
Yeah. So he brought it over, and I remember my friend Sebastian was like, dude, we should like try and stick it in his coffee, because Mr. McTeague would always get a 7-Eleven coffee every single day. I think he had to go to the restroom, and so we had this bottle of laxatives, and my friend Sebastian was like, dude, we should just put it in his coffee. And then eventually, like, he comes back, he's drinking his coffee, doesn't say anything about it. There's no change in taste, no nothing. He's just,
tasteless.
and he downs the whole thing. We never saw him again after that day. So we legit thought that we killed him. We thought he died.
No one explained anything to the kids on like, hey.
He was just gone. We just thought he died. We're like, oh, dude, we killed him. Like, we're suspect in a murder case now. We thought we killed this dude. And then like many years later, when I was going to PCC, I was going through one of the hallways, and then I see this dude, and he just looks scary looking guy. And I'm like, that's Mr. McTeague. He lived. He's still alive. And he looked like he just was wanting to kill somebody. It was the scariest scene of somebody that I thought I had killed. And I was like, oh man,
Mr. Cordero.
So Mr. Cordero, he was a high school history teacher, but he used to look like Dan the Tales Aquaman. He was deaf, hearing aids in both ears, and he was just a weird dude. Didn't really know what he was doing. And we would kind of like mess with him a whole lot. And there's a couple of things that we did because it was history, right? So one time it was Band of Brothers. Have you ever seen that show?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't say it's a risque show, right? But it is violent,
Very
right?
violent,
And then
yeah.
sometimes there's like a sex scene in it. And again, we're all minors technically, and all this stuff is like sort of explicit. And I had a remote control watch. At the time, and I was like, all right, it's my time to shine. and so because I figured out how to like program the watch to the VCR that he was using, when the sex scene would happen, I would just pause it on boobs. I would just pause it because all the kids are like, oh dude, look a boob, right? And so everyone's like freaking out. And it was this whole commotion. So he ends up coming back over and he's like trying to play it, and then like it goes back to normal, and then I'm like rewinding it to go back to the same scene. And he's like, no idea.
Worst nightmare.
Dude, he had no idea what was going on. It got to the point where we couldn't watch any videos in the class because apparently the VCR was haunted or something was going on. We just wouldn't do like
Traumatized
honestly,
him.
after that, we never watched another episode of it.
You just committed to the crime.
Well, yeah. And then there was another time, this guy, Ralph, he super glued the remote to his desk for the TV. And I remember the guy would try to pick it up and he's like, hey, he didn't know why, like he couldn't get it off the desk. And I remember he's like, man, this remote's pretty heavy. And I was like, what?
Dude, actually, that reminds me, because one time in computer class, it would be silent typing time. So everyone's just kind of typing on their computers and stuff, and it's silent. And then the iPhone Touch had an app that would do a super high frequency. And when you get older, you can't hear the high frequencies.
that drops off.
This?
Yeah.
So we would play this high frequency from the phone, and everyone would be looking around like, ah, like, and the teacher would have no idea, and they'd be looking around like, what's going on? It's like,
what's going on, dude? I can't hear
we
what's
would
going
do
on.
it all the time, dude. And half the people in the class were in on it, and they had that on their phone, that app, and we'd play that app, in high frequencies, and it was bad, dude, because it was then like the super good kids would be like,
There's like a really high pitched noise.
and then the teachers couldn't hear it, so they're taking their word for it, and they're like, who's doing this? What is this? And nobody knew, but it was like, we knew.
Wow, that's good. Prank-wise.
Yeah. Actually, that kind of reminds me, like, real quick. Do you remember the old school desks, fake wood part, and then there was like the steel or like aluminum bottom part that you could put like your books and So if you would like either lick your fingers or get your fingers slightly wet, and then you would put your fingers on the aluminum part and you would just like kind of rub it, it would make this hum. And what happened is that in the same class, you had about half of the kids doing the same thing. It got to a point where all you could hear was just like resonant frequency from it was just
kids rubbing the bottom of the
and it was crazy. All of the kids, just like fingering the desk, just fingering this little desk. And everybody was like, oh. It was funny as fuck. And the thing is like, because he couldn't hear that well, he could still kind of feel or kind of hear some of the lower frequencies.
The energy.
Yeah. But what happened is like, no, it's cool, man. Like, because he heard it and he was like, dude, the AC is messed up or whatever. He was blaming it on like the air conditioning unit in the room.
Yeah.
And so every time they would do that, he would try to turn the thing off. And I was like, dude, it's already off. And he was like, I don't know why it's keep doing that. And he actually had maintenance come through because we kept on doing it. So he didn't know why this kept on happening, but I feel kind of bad. But like we kept
like
up,
at the
but
same
it's
time,
harmless at the same time.
it's harmless.
These teachers need to make class more interesting.
Oh, we made it very interesting.
We
made it interesting for him. It wasn't interesting
make
for
it
us.
more interesting so that we don't have to resort to guerrilla
100%.
warfare tactics.
Yeah, big time.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. Be sure to follow the show and keep up with me on social medias at Spencer Whiteout. And as always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
Inserting exclusive audio recording from the vault.
Alright, it was a dark Wednesday night. So I went over to Spencer's house and we just hung out. We decided that we just wanted to stay home and not spend any money for food. So I decided that I'd make grilled cheese. I'm making mean grilled cheese. and other 2 ingredient meals.
That's perfect.
Pretty good at those in general.
Yeah.
So I made some grilled cheese. Spencer's eating and I'm cooking. And Mr. White keeps on making jokes about how, like, I'm at their house, but I'm cooking. He's like, what kind of hospitality is that? And I'm just like, I know, it's fucked up. Huh?
You did not. What?
No, but I kept on running out of, like, comebacks. He kept on saying, like, what is this? You come over to our house and you cook, and he just wouldn't let it go. I'm like,
He thought it was hilarious. It's fine, dude. He thought it was hilarious. I don't know why.
He thought it was pretty cool.
Luke was getting uncomfortable.
Sandwiches.
Wow, that is a beautiful cat.
And that's it.